kids that missed it, I figured we'd videotape this,
lovely.
and then
All right.
they'd be able to at least get some of the idea what they
Everybody
missed.
wave.
Everybody wave. You guys that are watching this didn't bring in your permission slips. Ha!
And forgot at Maddie.
Yeah.
3 and 13.
Oh, and we still have some bus
Bus
numbers
number
coming in there.
13.
Are you guys on? You're staying, right?
Oh, Aaron's not Aaron.
So, all right, so I do a midday show on the river, so that's from 10 to 3. And I play lots of music, and it's lifestyles and things like that. But most importantly, with my job with iHeart, I love doing my community events, so we're out at small events, big events, making a difference in the community, donating our time, doing interviews with community
10
leaders.
And 6 are here. 10
Plus 10 and 6
and
are there.
6.
But I also fill in on WFSB Channel 3, and I know Nicole Malepa was here, so I fill in for her sometimes doing traffic. And then on Fridays, I do Better Connecticut, and I get to do like a weekend update, what's going on in the state, go movies, have some fun, play shows, community events, and things like that. So, in any event, that's what I do. My days are very different every single day, except for the fact that I do have an on-air show that I have to prepare for every single day. And then I'm always writing, I'm always blogging.
12 is here.
Oh my
Number
gosh.
12.
How long does that go on
We're almost
for?
there.
There's only 16 buses, so there should be a few more.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So anyway, but so I have a show that I have to prepare for every day. I have packages I have to write about every single day. I do interviews every single day. And Jennifer, who's my assistant for community access, she helps produce and book those interviews for me and brings the guests in, posts their community events on all 9 of our Connecticut radio stations. We do photo albums and galleries. Last night was the Special Olympics Connecticut Hall of Fame Dinner Awards show, where I hosted the event, but we were also in attendance, and we did a live broadcast because one of our stations is ESPN Radio. So we kind of facilitated having ESPN Radio broadcast live from the AquaTurf. Where we had over 1,000 people in attendance, and the WWE was there, ESPN was there. We hosted it. There were athletes there. She took lots of pictures and did all the social media with that, and she put up the photo album online today. But that's just a typical day.
5 has arrived. Bus 5. All buses have come in. All students may be dismissed.
Oh my gosh, that would make me a little bananas, you guys. I'm not gonna lie. But in any event, so and like this, tomorrow we're planning a surprise
Please remember
party.
to send down your late bus list.
Anybody taking the late bus? Want to get a piece of paper and get a list?
All right,
We're totally throwing you off your game, Ms.
This is
Danina.
awesome.
This
I
is
usually don't get thrown off my game. I'm
Yeah.
competing with the loudspeaker, but for example, tomorrow. So this is my day tomorrow. So I have a Friday show that's 10 to 3, but my day starts off where I go to Channel 3 in the morning to film Better Connecticut that airs at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So that means every Wednesday I write a TV package as to what's going on the weekends in Connecticut. But I also share that on my radio blog too, so it's sort of like 2 for 1, right? So I start my day after the TV station, then I go to the radio station, and then I don't know if any of you have ever heard of the Funny Bone or Her Funny Bone, but every Friday all the comedians come into my radio studio and I interview them for my show, and then on top of all that, I still have to do my live show in between all these interviews, but tomorrow we're doing a surprise party for somebody who's retiring in the state of Connecticut who's a community leader, so I don't want to say anything right now, even though it probably would not affect this, but I just in case I don't want to jinx it. But so I have a big party for 50 people I'm planning internally. We have something called the Dunkin' Donuts Music Lounge, where we have a live performer coming in, and we have food coming in, and we're giving away a surprise. So we're preparing for that between noon and 1.
Mr. Benson. It's on the table over there.
It's over there. and then on Saturday we have, with my community access department, I have events going on across the state, but I'm hosting 2 of them, and so Jen and I are going to head out and host Make-A-Wish, the gala, in the first part of Mohegan Sun, but I can only do the red carpet, and then I have to leave at 7 to go over to Foxwoods to host the Jordan Porco Foundation gala. So that's all in one night, so that's kind of bananas. And then next week we have more events and galas and on-air stuff. And I don't know, I think I like it better when people ask me questions though, so I can help guide and direct you. And then also, if you have questions for Jennifer, because she just graduated college. And this is sort of a new thing for her, so I would be lost without her because she really helps me, because I'm in my studio recording and doing my shows. And so she helps with emails, she helps with calls. She's actually gone out and represented our radio stations. You have to know how to set up your equipment, the AV stuff, sound, we do DJing, do everything. And so she's sort of like my right-hand person who helps me out a lot. So I don't know if you all wanna just ask questions about the industry, whether it's celebrity interviews.
Why don't you just start off by kind of talking about the same thing you did on the thing, like tell them how you got started in school and where you grew up. You know,
Okay.
she's a Connecticut girl, guys, just like you, so.
Yeah, so I lived in Old Weathersfield for a long while, and then we moved to, well, I started in Windsor, then Old Weathersfield, and then East Hartford is where I did most of my schooling, so East Hartford High School. I went to University of Hartford for a little bit.
My mom looks like me.
Oh, really? Very, very nice. And so I went there and I went to Manchester Community College as well. I did study communications, I did study journalism, and I started in 8th grade,
There's a
actually.
little cheat sheet if you want some ideas.
Okay,
Go.
thank you.
This is everybody who needs to be on the late bus? Yes, everybody who's going on the late bus signed here? Thank you.
There's many people in our industry that have had more formal training than I have. I actually don't have the traditional training and background that a lot of people in communications today have. Like you'll need, it's a little bit different than, you know, I hate to say that your era is definitely different than my era. So I don't have as much of the training in the traditional schooling as some people. I started in 8th grade and I asked my favorite DJ to come to my school to help do a talk, and that's where I found out about how radio stations work, how there's program directors, music directors, promotions directors, people who work behind the scenes, and I found out that a traffic department doesn't necessarily mean telling about the traffic conditions on the roadways, but traffic in our world means, you know, commercials on the air and how they run, and has nothing, it's all administrative, it has nothing to do with on-air stuff. But that's where I found out about it, so I actually started listening to the radio in a whole different way in 8th grade and started interning. So all through high school, I interned and got my first job when I was 18, working overnights. But I got started literally because of classes and things like this. It wasn't really formal, like the way you have it set up here, but that's how I actually got started. And I will tell you though, does anyone, do they offer journalism at this level?
No.
So in high school, I loved my journalism class in high school, and also film class. I don't know if you offer film class, but if you have an opportunity in high school, because that's where I took mine, my film class, journalism, just really, really wonderful. And then also any sort of current events classes and things like that, keeping up on current events in the world. And obviously you guys have it a little bit easier than I did, because I graduated a very long time ago. But you know, with the internet and things like that and going on, keeping yourself current with up-to-date stuff. So that makes your job now pretty easy. Let's see here. Oh, I made a mess of that whole interview thing because I wasn't prepared. I didn't see these questions beforehand. But the best way to prepare for this industry, for those of you that raise your hand if you want to be on camera, in front of on camera. Okay. It's a lot of work because to be on camera, you have to be able to do everything behind camera. You have to be able to write, edit, produce. You have to be able to have so many things behind you to be on camera nowadays, because years ago it used to be that you had a writer or you had a camera person. Sometimes now they'll send one reporter out with a camera by themselves and they have to do everything. Set up the tripod, interview, edit, bring back. So it's good that you're starting here learning all the basics, because you are going to, for those of you that want to start out doing that, you're going to have to learn how to do all of that. Anyone want to be on the air on the radio? Oh, good, that's less competition for me. But yeah, being on the radio, that's a lot of people in television get their start in radio, because that's where you learn how to read, that's how you learn how to relate to people, and that's how you learn all your breathing skills and techniques. And that's how you're able to get that voice that you want. Because when I first started out, my voice was like this. When I would talk on the radio, I'd get very excited. And it was all because of breathing. And you would talk faster. But once you start doing it every single day, your breathing kind of falls into place, and you get the right pace, and you get to you get that voice. It just comes out of you naturally. But yeah, so being in radio is a lot of fun, but it's a lot of preparation, because people don't like to be fooled. They know when they're listening to somebody who knows what they're talking about. Even if you're just saying your call letters. Do you know what your call letters are? So what radio station do you listen to?
95.
Those are call letters. 95, yeah. So KISS 95.7, KC 101, the River 105.9, Country 92.5. Those
What
are
do we-
call letters.
What do we call the announcements here?
WGMS.
WGMS,
So
yeah.
those are call letters.
Yeah.
So that's, but, even if you're just saying something as simple as that, you still need to be up on current events. And, I always say to people, you should every single day know 5 headlines of the day. And I don't know if you will talk about that or do that here, but if you're doing the news or anything, you should always know what the top 5 headlines of the day are. Always, no matter what, if you want to get into current events and, know what's going on. Sports, weather, news, current events, always want to, you don't have to know everything about sports. I don't know anything about sports, but I know March Madness is going on, and I want to make sure that I'm relating it to my listeners and my audience, so I make myself see who, what's going on in the world of sports, just so that I can be informed or have a conversation with somebody about it. So I don't know, it's a fun little game that I used to play with students when I used to teach, but just always know the latest headlines, top 5, every single day. And in our world, that changes probably every hour. There's probably 5 headlines every single hour, so it's easy to get overloaded. But you could break it down to local headlines in your state or your town. What's going on in your town. Try to always figure out what's new or late breaking in your town. The questions that really messed us up though were, have you ever met anybody famous or interviewed anybody famous or whatever? I do that every single day. So I interview celebrities every single day. And I interview them from the sports world, the entertainment world, the news world, politicians. That's what I do, and I couldn't think of one person, and she had to help me. But yeah, so interviewing celebrities, you have to be prepared when you interview celebrities. You have to know why they're talking to you, and a lot of times when they're talking about a new TV show or a new movie, they can't tell you any information because then it's a spoiler alert, and then they get in trouble. So you have to get background information. So you have to spend a little bit of time, prepping you and learning about this person. And they absolutely love when you ask them questions about their
Ms.
life.
Libera,
right?
please call
So
2416.
just like you and me,
Ms.
even though
Libera,
they're on the big screen. I don't know
2416.
who you guys like right now. Who's some of the celebrities or even musical artists that you're liking and listening to?
Bruno Mars.
Okay, he's super nice. He's super nice and super talented. So when you talk to him, you have to make sure that you're prepared, right? And he's come to our radio station. He's performed for us. We've spoken to him. Super nice guy. Who else do you guys like?
Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling, Justin Bieber. Yep, we have a piano in our lobby in our building where he played the piano. It's a player piano, so we took some video of him doing that. But speaking of which, that actually leads me to something that you wanted to touch on a little bit. Your teachers here today. Do you guys have social media accounts, or do your parents monitor them? Does anybody have their own social media accounts?
How many of you have Instagrams? How many of you have Twitter?
Yeah.
How many of you have Tumblr? Any of you on Facebook?
I made one just because I was bored, but I don't know.
Okay. All right.
So social media, whatever you do or follow, you have to be really careful about that. Obviously, you guys know that, but it's very easy to forget. Do you guys ever forget sometimes about, do you ever post anything sometime and think, oh, geez, maybe I shouldn't have posted that? You did that? Yeah, that's honest, and that's true. I think everybody. Yeah, because you have to be careful, because when you're a celebrity or a public figure, which I consider myself a public figure in the Connecticut community. I don't know if I would call myself a celebrity, but definitely a public figure. And so everything I do post and say, whether I'm working or not, so if you want to get in this industry, there's no end of your day. You're not 9 to 5. Your day, you're 24/7, and so anything you do or say at any given time, you have to be careful. You have to be mindful of that, of your reputation and the reputation you want to portray to the public. So you have to be very, very careful, and especially like if you're going to make fun of something or a product. For me, I can't even say how much I hate a product on the air because they could possibly be a client, and I could cost my station money. So I have to be very careful of everything I say and do on social media. And that's a huge part of our industry right now. That is something that I'm even still learning, but you guys probably have a better handle on it than I do. Because I'm used to just saying what I want. Can't really do that. Not on social media anymore, because you can get in a lot of trouble. I'm just looking through this list here. Who just wants to work behind the scenes? What's behind the scenes? Doing what?
Editing and stuff.
Yeah. So editing what, TV or radio?
Probably
Audio, do you wanna do film, voice, commercials?
I don't know yet.
Yeah? So there's a lot to look into. Who else raised their hand about that? Yep, so what do you wanna do?
Audio and visual.
Audio and visual? Yeah, and anyone else who? I saw some hands over there. What do you wanna do?
Just like recording.
Just do
Yeah,
camera? So nowadays with camera work, most of the camera work is automated. In like the TV studio, if you ever watch the TV morning news, there's actually no cameraman in that room. Isn't that crazy? There's no cameraman in that room. They're all automated, so you do it from another room, and they're all so being a cameraman today is very different. Or camera person, I should say. Pardon me. Being a camera person today, but you still need reporters out in the field with the camera. But you have to learn so many other things. It's not just one thing anymore, and your teachers know that because we were just chatting about this before your class today. You have to learn so many different levels of this industry. This is a great room. This is a great setup, you guys. You really have it lucky because you're going to learn so much at all different kinds of levels, and it's going to give you a skill set that you can take with you behind the scenes to in front of the scenes. So you're pretty lucky you have these guys here that I'm really, really impressed.
Thank you.
By the way.
Can you talk about, and again, you know, these kids are here in Rocky Hill, you know, if they wanted to work behind the camera or be in front of the camera or record on radio and stuff, talk about some of the places in Connecticut, not too far from here, where they could end up with a real job doing that kind of thing.
Oh my goodness, yeah, I mean, there's so many opportunities in our state. I mean, there's all the different TV stations, there's all the different radio stations. Hartford actually is pretty, just in the immediate Hartford area, is pretty blessed to have lots of different opportunities. And even startups and even local TV and local access TV, that's a thing now where that's far more built up than when I was younger. But I mean, there's lots of people making a living doing community access or public television and radio. Even nonprofits have, but I mean, even a job, even an insurance company has a whole AV department. In fact, Hartford Hospital or Hartford Healthcare, they actually have a whole news department, an AV department. So you're so lucky that you're growing up in this day and age where there's different opportunities at companies that have you doing radio and TV, but just in a different manner, not in the traditional ways that you're thinking of. And of course, we have ESPN here in Connecticut. I know, do we have any sports fans here? Yeah, so there's ESPN, and they're huge, and they're always looking for people, you know, on different ends of things. But we also have, if you go into Stamford, we have the WWE here. I don't know, I got a little excited about that, yeah. So, but I mean, in there, and you know, that's an international organization right here in Connecticut that's always looking for people, and they're always looking for producers, AV, behind the scenes, and editors and things like that. I mean, they're looking for wrestlers, I'm sure, but I don't know. I'm gonna be a wrestler, but.
Aren't there some big studios in Stamford, like Rachel Ray or somebody does their show?
Yeah,
Is there
there's
a couple
lots of
shows?
studios.
Yeah.
There are a ton of studios right here in our state. Like, we're very lucky in Connecticut that if you want to work in our industry, there's a lot of opportunity. The only thing I'll say about that is though, it's not just one thing. You can't just be an editor. You have to have a lot more skills. So it's good that you're starting now so you can build your way up. And I think it's almost inbred with you at your age and the age of the digital age and then the technology age that you're going to by default learn all this stuff and be multifaceted, because that's what you have to be in our industry, whether you're on the air or behind the scenes. So
One thing we try to let them know is you often think it's always in New York or Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to work in movies or radio or news or something, you're going to either be in New York, Washington, or LA. And there's so much in Connecticut that you could, you know, still
they
be
shoot a lot of
local.
movies in Connecticut too. They shoot a lot of films. Yeah, no, and even more current than that. You know, I mean, they shoot a lot of. Oh my goodness. They shoot a lot of movies in Connecticut. There's a lot of TV shows in Connecticut, and there's a lot of filmmakers in Connecticut, and there's a lot of documentary makers here in Connecticut, and there's a lot of opportunity at some of the movie houses that have opened up that will even open up a night for people that have made a documentary or something for a nonprofit. So, you know, there's always opportunity wherever you are, and we're pretty lucky in Connecticut to have a very diverse entertainment industry, very diverse, with news, sports, all kinds of media. So, any questions, you guys?
I was wondering if we could talk to Jennifer for a little bit
Oh,
about, because she
guys,
just
that's
graduated
not
from college, you were saying, and she's a young lady who wanted to get into broadcasting or media,
Well, yeah,
and talk a little bit to us.
I did business in college, business management, and I met Renee through a friend, and I've been really loving helping her doing, the media aspect, and it's been really fun going with her to events and kind of doing the whole social media aspect, because I feel like, as you guys know, it's huge. So I kind of handle the Instagram for her because she's little. Yeah. But like she said, it is important to watch what you put on social media, because even when I was in college, with any job, they look at what you post, and they always say whatever you post on the internet, it's always there. It's always, even if you delete it, it's been on the internet. So just always be careful about that when trying to get any type of job. But yeah, I've been loving working at iHeart, and definitely been going to some cool events and meeting some cool people, so it's been fun.
Our first event that we went to was something at Mohegan Sun, and it was with Bruce Springsteen, and I don't know if you all know who that is, but that was kind of a big deal for us. So,
Or Miranda Lambert, do you guys know her?
yeah.
I think I know Bruce Springsteen.
Your parents might know who Bruce Springsteen is,
Yeah.
but Miranda Lambert was
Yeah,
a big.
Miranda
That was a
Lambert.
big one
That was
too.
awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely cool to watch Renee, because I don't really have knowledge in the broadcasting or editing, but she's shown me, I get to kind of watch what she does in her studio, and she's put me on the air sometimes, which is pretty cool and pretty weird at the same time to hear your voice on the radio for, the first time. But,
She's doing good though.
Yeah, it's awesome, so, yeah.
All right, clubs. Now. What is the official name of this club?
Announcers or announcers.
Yeah, Announcers Club.
Announcers Club. All right, I think that's really cool. So announcers, let's have some questions. Let's go. No question. All right, go ahead.
Do you ever get nervous before you go on camera?
Yeah, sometimes I do. But I think that's good though. I think you should be a little nervous. Not nervous. It's different levels of nerves. First the nerves are your first time nerves, or you want to make sure you're perfect and you're doing a good job, and you hope you don't mess up or say a bad word or not say any words or pass out or throw up. You don't want to do that. But yeah, and then there's different. Then there's just sometimes when you get really excited if you have a great story, or maybe it's a serious story, good news or sad news. You always want to make sure that you're doing a good job. So you're always nervous, but the type of nerve it is a little different, if that makes any sense to you when you do something for a longer period of time. You just always want to do a good job. And sometimes your nerves are just more fun, like you get excited, those kinds of nerves. But it never goes away, and it should never go away, because this business is so exciting. So, yeah.
You talked in the interview before about what happens when you make a goof. What happens when you make a mistake? What do you do?
Oh, you guys, I do that every single day. The minute I wake up to the minute I go to bed, I make mistakes all day long on the air. I made a ton of mistakes on that tape I made for you guys. I make mistakes here. But mistakes are a part of learning, and as long as, it's an honest mistake and you're not doing anything too bad. But when you make a mistake, you move on and you learn from it, and you find ways to make sure it doesn't happen again. You just see what kind of mistake it was. If it's a mistake where you mess up a word or you got nervous on air, you can't go back and change something live. You have to move on, and you can't beat yourself up about it. If you make a mistake because you didn't prepare and you're giving out wrong information, that's kind of big time. And what you learn from that mistake is to always be prepared and always fact check before you do anything. So there's in our industry there's different levels of mistakes. Some mistakes you can learn from, some mistakes you can grow from, and some mistakes can get you, whether it's a social media post like Jen and I were just saying to you, or a mistake that you say something wrong on the air, it could cost you your job. So there's different levels of mistake, but a good old fashioned on-air mistake you can usually grow from and move on.
Raise your hand if you made a mistake on the announcements. Okay, so you see, it's normal. You shouldn't feel bad, and you shouldn't be like, oh my gosh, I made a mistake,
Yep.
I'm never doing that again. Mr. Nino says, hey, guess what? Every day, and she's been doing this for years, so
30 years, you guys. Can you imagine that? That's like 3 of you. My goodness. I could be one of your grandmothers. But yeah, so mistakes now. I know I really would love to hear from you though. So let me hear from you. So what is it that you want to do?
Well, in the like filming industry, sort of like what Jen does, like behind the scenes, and like sort of helping you with your job.
Like a producer or a writer?
Janisha comes in every morning as one of the first people, and she's typing in the daily announcements into the teleprompter, into the script, and turning on all the machines. And so is Jess. She and Jess are the two that are here that are a part of the crew every single day. And most of the rest of you guys just come when the days you're announcing, right?
Yeah. Two of us are here right now.
And that's awesome. And that's you guys are the lifeline for people like me. Like we need you. You're very, very important. And so that's pretty exciting. What is it that you do?
I kind of like want to be like not really like out there and on the radio, but like helping maybe a producer.
Like for stories and interviews and content,
Yeah.
things like that?
Maybe editing too.
Yeah. What interests you? What kind of stories interest you?
Current events mostly. Like
Sports,
Yeah.
entertainment,
politics.
politics. That's a good topic right now, right? So you got to be careful. And if we've learned nothing from anything right now, is that we always got to make sure we always have the right facts. So if you're going to be a new generation of media people, we always want to make sure we're doing our due diligence, right? So that's important. Now, what is it that you're looking to do, or what do you? You don't know, just still figuring it out.
Yeah.
Do you like this club though, at least?
Yes.
Oh, you say yeah, you love it. I got you on camera right here.
No,
All right,
Riley,
so what is it
Riley,
that
you're an 8th grader, right?
Yeah.
And you just joined this year, and you didn't do it in 6th or 7th grade, right?
Well, last year during when the 8th graders went to Washington.
Right at the end of the year you started.
Yeah.
Okay. So most of these guys started in 6th grade. We have some 6th graders here, don't we? Yeah, we got a couple of 6th graders. And then 7th graders, and then what happens is about halfway through the year, the 8th graders sometimes sort of lose interest because they get a little too cool to be part of the announcers club anymore, and that's when we start bringing in a few more 6th graders. And Riley had a chance to come in, and she did pretty good, and she signed back up this year. It's been great to have her.
All right, so let's go. Now, what is it that interests you?
I want to be on the air, and I like the idea of like actually announcing and letting news people.
Very nice, nicely said as well. So as a newscaster,
Yeah.
yeah? All right, and do you produce your news here? Do you write your news?
I don't write it, but I'm on the air, and I'm hoping to write it like next year if I join journalism.
You could write it right now when you go home. You can write it whenever you want. You should start preparing. You should start looking at the news lines and start really looking and listening to the newscasters on all the stations and hearing how they're telling their stories and hearing how, you know, how sometimes they'll say a big tease before they go into a commercial, or sometimes you'll be watching a TV show and they'll say, coming up at 11 or coming up at 5. So the art of writing a tease is something like a headline. So you should start writing now. Start doing some of that stuff and keep a notebook. Because I found that when I was younger, I kept a journal and you could see and watch how your writing changes. It's fun, and it will help you next year if you're hoping to write, but it'll get you really into a good groove and a good habit of kind of figuring your way on doing that. So, all right, I'm gonna go behind you in the pink. What is it that you? Yes, you.
Well, my mom asked me I probably wanted to do like movie directing. That's what.
Movie directing. That's pretty cool because then you get to tell everybody what to do, and they have to listen to you, right? So do you like to? So now, do you have any movies that you like that you watch right now that?
My mom forces me to watch Disney movies.
Well,
I don't like it.
well, maybe someday you'll find a movie line that you like, but yeah, being a director, it's hard work though. That means you gotta learn every single thing here first before you can get up to directing, so that's a big goal, and that's a great goal to have. So hopefully you're out there. Do you have your own film? Like, do you film little segments of things? Do you set up the shots in your head? Do you visualize your scene?
My brother wants to become a YouTuber, so I've been helping him with his camera.
Okay. Well, it's a good start, and everything you do, you just gotta make sure if you wanna be a director, you have to look at lighting, you have to look at sound, you have to look at people, you have to look at angles, you have to look at everything. So that's a big responsibility. So you're gonna take it on? All right, good. I can't wait to watch your movies then. Now, what is it that, well, obviously, I know you like the WWE because your eyes got very big when I mentioned that, but what else?
I would like to be on the radio because I want people to hear my voice.
Yeah.
And, well, I get kind of nervous when it's like a live video. But when people see your face, I get a little bit nervous. So I would like to be on the radio.
You know, a lot of people who end up on camera start out in radio. I mean, that's where you can make all your mistakes, you can go into work. You know, we had an event last night, we had an event today, but on the days I don't have events, I don't even know if I brush my hair. I'd sometimes go into work in my pajamas, that's true. That's the best part of being a DJ. And sometimes, when I don't have any guests, I bring my dog in, and oh yeah, because no one's coming in my studio. I bring my dog in, I bring my slippers, and I turn up the music, and I get a chance to really pay attention what's going on. But yeah, so that's a good spot for you, but you present yourself very well. You know what I mean? So I think you'll be okay on camera one of these days too. But if you want to get started on the air, then that's a good place to start. So just practice talking and breathing and all that kind of stuff. And sports, I guess, is where you're going, right? That's where I can tell that, right? And you, what are you looking for in this club?
I've been mostly interested in editing ever since I was like ever since I was like 7. I've been really interested in being behind the scenes mostly,
Yeah.
doing like sort of camera work. Yeah.
Well, I love the way you just spoke to me right there. I think that was pretty impressive, number one. So maybe one day we'll get you in front of the camera or at least on the air. But so editing is an art form, isn't it? It's really theatrical, and you get to tell your story, and you get to visualize where you want it to go, and whether it's video or audio, and you kind of have control over the end product. I mean, you can have people like me or Jen or whatever, but really the editors and the producers, you're really in control of what everyone gets to see and hear and how you want them to see and hear it. So do you like telling a story that way?
Sort of. I mean, I've also wanted to be a GFX artist, or a GFX editor.
Okay.
Because usually I see my brother he's into that type of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And he shows me like the basics in this little editor that he has on his computer, and I'm just like, oh, I want to do this one day.
It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck being a director. I'm gonna watch your movies. All right.
I want to be a journalist. Like, write all the stories for the newscasters.
Do you have a notebook?
Yeah, I have a couple.
Okay. And do you write? I mean, write. Not write. I mean, write.
Yeah, sometimes.
Because I know that a lot of stuff is digital, and I know a lot of people have the notepads, and I know you do stuff on computer, but I will tell you, one thing that will never ever go away is the art form of writing, handwriting your facts and keeping a personal journal that way. And if you want to be a true and honest journalist, I am going to suggest and recommend you write a little story every single day. Handwrite it, because that will force you to look at the body of what you're writing. That'll force you to look at your story and look at your facts. And putting it into the computer is just fine too. Obviously, it's the way we do things. But for a little extra edge that might separate you from someone else, really becoming personal and in touch with your story, handwriting it is a really good way to do that. And then as I was saying before, you get to watch and see how you grow with your writing, right? So what do you?
I'm sorry, just any of you guys in the newspaper club? Any of you guys do the newspaper club?
I used to be last year.
Yeah. I'm just saying, Renee's talking about, okay, right. Well, we have a newspaper club, so they do stories about
Yeah.
the school and events and things like that. So
That's so
that might be a
cool.
good place for you guys to get started on something like that. That might be
Yeah.
something for you to think
That
about.
is as journalism as it gets.
Yeah. So, I
Yeah,
don't
and
know.
that's so important in our industry. No matter what level that you want to do, journalism is so important. Yeah. Okay, so go ahead.
I just want to be like a camera person who does the effects.
So that's different. That's two different types of things. So there's a camera person and then there's an effects person. But that's good because before you were just saying camera person, but now you're adding another layer onto you, and you're making yourself, more accessible. You're making yourself more. I can't think of the word that I'm using right now. But yeah, well-rounded, and that's great. So effects, as in sci-fi effects, CGI effects, things like that. Is that what you're thinking of?
Sort of.
Sort of.
Like when you tape it and like you go back and you.
An editor. So yeah, that's good. Yeah. So that's kind of exciting. So do you have little vignettes and things that you do here now? You have all the equipment here to be able to do it. So you got to Gotta get on that. You two should probably do something together, right? That might be kind of fun. Make a little project, why not? Now, what are you interested in?
Well, I want to be a reporter on the scene. Like, I want to go around the world reporting international news.
Wow.
Live right there. Like you see on the news today when they go to the White House or when they go to other countries, they're like right
Correspondence.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to do that.
So that's actually kind of fun that you would say that. That's actually, you can build up your name to doing that and the experts, but you know, that's almost like a starting point in our industry. It's almost where, you know, when you get hired at a local TV station here in Connecticut, they're not gonna make you the anchor as of yet, they're gonna make you be the on-the-scene person. So that's kind of a very realistic goal and a one that you can build on. You know what I mean? So, but you, just like the young lady that wants to be the director, when you want to be an on-the-scene reporter, that means you've got a lot of responsibility ahead of you. You've got to learn all of this, because sometimes, especially those people that you see on the field that are, you know, in London or from a war scene or whatever, they're either with one other person or they're by themselves. So you have to learn your writing, your producing, your editing, your camera angles, everything. So you have to make sure you're taking in all of what this class has to offer and growing with that in your education, right? What interests you? Besides Justin Bieber.
Well, I really don't know, but like I would like to be like on air.
Radio, TV? TV? All right. Entertainment, news, what do you like?
Probably like the entertainment.
So, for people that like entertainment, I always say you have to make sure you're up on all the latest news, all the latest movies, watching, you know, the latest Hollywood insider information and reporting, you know, like an Entertainment Tonight or an Hollywood News or something like that. So you just have to make sure you're keeping up on all the current information and doing that, which sounds like you're probably already doing that, right? What's your favorite show to watch?
Really don't have one.
Okay.
Just watch like everything.
Watch anything? Oh dear. We gotta get you a good show that you can watch and waddle after. All right, and what would you like to do?
Anything where I could be seen or heard.
Well, that's a pretty broad way to think about it, but seen or heard. So what interests you in this industry? Is it just sort of the excitement of it all? Is it news? Is it entertainment? Is it politics?
More of the entertainment industry.
So red carpets.
Yeah.
Red carpets are so much fun to do, you guys. That's part of my job. I go down to New York or to Vancouver sometime into Canada, and sometimes I'll walk the red carpet. And doing a red carpet is so much fun, but that's you're sandwiched in with all kinds of people, and then the celebrities come down, and you have to call them over, and you have to, you know, be ready with your question, and you have to have like a little cheat sheet, because before the red carpet starts, they have handlers that walk out, and they'll give you a little bio on all the people that might possibly be walking by, and then some of these guys, they bring like little step ladders so they can see over your head who's coming, and they'll have cameras over and boom mics and stuff, and so you just gotta get in there and make sure your question's the best, and learn the art of crafting a great question so that the celebrity or whomever the person is walking will stop and hear your question and want to answer what you're asking. So if you want to own that red carpet, and you also I always say wear something a little weird, because sometimes they'll notice that a little more, or wear like red, because everybody always wears black, which I'm wearing black right now, but I'm not on the red carpet right now. But if you want to, you know, if you want people to notice you are a celebrity, wear like a sparkly bracelet so that when your hand's out there, I mean, anyone can wear a sparkly bracelet, man or woman, but if you're, you know, wear a hat or a scarf or something that's going to get them to notice you. But being a red carpet reporter, being a correspondent, it's very hard in that you have to make sure you're prepared, because if you're alive, anything can happen. So you have to make sure you have your facts, your information, where are you, what's going on around you, names, places, things like that. You just have to always be up on that kind of information. Right, Jen? Right. So Jen, also, you should tell them about how you post events at all 9 of our stations. Come back. So we're gonna take a
group picture in a minute here. We got about 5
Jen
minutes, maybe,
wants a
Renee.
picture now, though. Hold on.
Okay.
Wave at
She's
Jen.
taking-
Everyone, look at Jen.
Alrighty.
And I want Jen in the picture too. But tell them about, so when clients and when people email our radio stations, whether it's ESPN, Country Kiss, The River, they email our community events, but I'm gonna let Jen tell about that.
Okay, so yeah, so like Renee said, she's a director of community access. So basically what that means is she's so involved with different organizations in Connecticut, like American Liver Foundation, Make-A-Wish Foundation, Jordan Porco Foundation, which is like suicide awareness. So basically people from all over Connecticut will email us and want us to promote like their flyer and their event that's going on so people can hear about it and either purchase tickets that go towards that foundation, or sometimes they want Renee to come and be the host of the event or talk about it on air. So I just basically help Renee with getting the information of the event on all 9 of our radio stations. So 95.7, KC 101, 92.5, The River, and
She
more.
doesn't just help, she's actually the one that posts it. She's being a little modest right now, but she posts it, so if you go to any of our radio stations, you post it online, right?
Yep.
And so, and then you make sure you have that interaction back with the client too.
Yep, and then like Renee said, I'll go to events and I'll take a lot of pictures and I'll make an album on Facebook of just kind of showing, what the event was about, and I'll write a little bio about what all like the money went to and stuff like that. So yeah, they're a lot of fun, and excuse me, bless you. And yeah, like the Make-A-Wish one we're going to in Jordan Porco, I'm really looking forward to that because it's awesome being in the community and helping and just making a difference, It's okay to be cool and make a difference at the same time.
Yeah, it really is, actually. And it's funny because everyone has their own brand of social media that they like to use, and there's different age levels that use different things, whether it's Snapchat, Instagram, whatever it is out there. But in our industry, believe it or not, Facebook is still the #1 place for community organizations, for nonprofits, and for animal rescue, for people and pets, I like to say, because my hashtag is people and pets. Because I have a hashtag. But anyway, Facebook is still the #1 place to get out the information for helping people. It's also where people do a lot of other weird stuff. But Facebook is for organizations, and Twitter, that's really seems to be where you can do the most good in the community. It seems like Instagram and those other sites are more self-serving. Not in a bad way, but that's more, that's I think that's what Twitter used to be, just doing the selfies and things like that. That has moved on to the Instagram or the whatever that other one is. Snapchat. God help me. I don't even have my passwords. She has all my passwords. I don't even know how to access anything because I don't know what I'm doing. But
Now, you said you had 1.8 million followers?
I do. We have the community access program that airs on 9 radio stations. We're in 1.8 million households. Every, with our iHeartRadio and the app iHeartRadio. And you can follow that along. If you visit mycommunityaccess.com, that's the actual main landing page of that, and it's got all previous shows on there. And we do podcasting because I'm carried on iHeartRadio and iTunes and all that. So, yeah, it's a pretty impressive thing. And sometimes it even amazes me that many people would want to hear what we have to say. But all of our guests are all community leaders or people making a difference or people like you, kids. I have young people coming in all the time talking about what they're doing in the community. I have people who are just teachers, who I don't think are just teachers. You have 2 very special people over there who, whether you realize it or right now or maybe later in life, you'll realize that one of these 2 gentlemen or both are going to inspire at least 5 of you sitting here to do something with your life with this, and it's going to be because of what they're doing and sitting here after class when they have families. Do you know what I mean? It takes a special person to be a teacher, to teach their wisdom on to you, and sometimes when we're at a younger age we don't appreciate that, and that's okay because you have to grow. You have to learn that on your own. But later in life, when you're doing in this industry or when you're being a part of all this, it's these life experiences that make you a better on-air person or broadcaster. It's all of these moments, so,
Cool.
yeah.
thank you so much for coming in.
I don't know if you
Really
learned
appreciate
anything
it.
from me though, did you?
What'd you guys think? Is that pretty cool? Yeah? Interesting talking to her?
Do you have any questions or do you have to go now?
Well, why don't we take a group picture?
Okay.
And then, because what'll happen is they'll call late buses here and at least 3 or 4
Oh
of
my
these
god, I
kids are
don't
gonna
wanna
go.
be around for that.
Yeah.
announcement.
They'll,
Let me get out of here before that thing comes on. Oh my word.
So why don't you guys all kind of get behind Renee and Jen there and we'll do some.
Can someone take a picture with
Yeah,
us?
yeah.
Absolutely.
Jen, get me all set up.
This is so cool. Everybody filter in, come on in.
Squish in.
Filter.
Smaller people in front,
Right,
taller
there's
people
room in the
back.
front here, there we go. Come on in. This is so exciting.
Yeah, actually, Abhishek, can you sit in this chair here? Get in that
Don't
picture.
listen.
Oh, look at this guy.
There we go. All bases covered. All right, ready? Here we go. All right. Got a bunch of pictures. Nice. Got it.
That was very impressive.
Hey, he teaches tech ed, you know? This is not an amateur here.
Yeah.
And again, guys, if you guys have any questions, I know it's kind of awkward when everybody else is listening, but I mean, Renee's just another, person hanging out here. It's very nice of her to spend her time with us. If you just wanted to say hi or talk to her, or take a selfie or something, maybe how we do that.
Oh, this is my best question. Everybody always asks how much I get paid. So, you know what? You can make a good living at this, but it doesn't always start out that way. So just know that it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work, and sometimes you have to have, when I first started, I worked part-time in this industry, and I had to get a full-time job to pay for my part-time habit in this industry until I could let go of the full-time job. To now I only do this. So you can make, really, in our entertainment world, the sky's the limit, but don't expect it when you first start. Probably.
Yeah, don't go into it
Yeah.
thinking you're gonna make $1 million, but if you do it and you love it and you're good at it, someday you might end up being, one of these people that
Multi-million
everybody
dollars,
knows, Everybody knows their name type of thing.
Right? Yes, sir?
How long did it, how many years did it take you to like get used to filming, to getting onto camera and filming stuff?
That's a great question, and I'll tell you what. It took me, it's weird because I started when I was in 8th grade, okay? So I literally started, so I grew up in this industry. So every year I kept learning more and more and more and learning how to do things. But being on the air to the point where I really liked myself on the air, it took about 5 years because I didn't have what you guys have here. I didn't have necessarily formal training or any guidance or the opportunity to reach out to somebody who will help to teach you. I had to sort of like kind of from 8th grade to high school, but it worked out age-wise. So by the time I was 18, I was at a place that made me happy. But it took about 5 years, and it took a lot of hard work. And I will say one thing about this industry, and I don't want to scare anybody because you certainly should, because I love this industry. Jen has seen it, but she will tell you, it's not an easy industry, especially when you open yourself up to the public. Sometimes people like to give you their opinion of you in our industry, and sometimes their opinion may not be the same opinion your mom or dad might have of you. It's a very different opinion, if you know what I mean, right?
Trolls.
Yeah.
And sometimes it might not be a valid opinion at all.
Exactly, and you have to make sure, now, when I first started, people called you, and I played those records over there when I first started in this industry, but people used to call me and people used to call me, and I remember one night, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, I picked up the phone and said, "Hello, how you doing?" And all I heard was, "You suck," and I went, and I cried for an hour. I called my mom, I'm like, this person, like, well, who was it? I'm like, well, I don't know, it was just one random person that just called to tell me that I stunk. But I remember that call because it was the first call I ever got, and I've never experienced that in my whole entire life. But in our industry, whether you're a camera person, direct, you have to have a thick skin. You have to have a thick skin. You have to be able to take it, and you have to be able to understand that is not a reflection of you in any way, shape, or form. It's just that sometimes somebody feels the need to tell you their opinion for whatever reason, and they don't know you, they don't know anything about you, but you have to understand that our business, the business of this, sometimes, and those are the people that try to like take you down, and you don't want to, yeah, you don't want to get involved in that. Huh?
Haters are gonna hate.
Haters gonna hate, right? Yeah.
What's that?
I don't know.
Haters gonna hate, potatoes gonna potato, tomatoes gonna tomato.
See?
Gotcha.
There you go, now you understand.
Yeah, see?
But in any event, that's so I guess if I could leave you with any advice, it would be is don't let anyone get you down in this business. And then also when you're working in this business, it is one of the rare businesses where it's okay to be fired. Because people in the entertainment industry get fired all the time, but it doesn't stop them from getting jobs. You don't have to worry about that because you keep growing from the experiences and there's tons of jobs out there, so you grow with everything. So those are things that you shouldn't be afraid of in our industry at all. So, anyway.
Right.
What's your guys' on camera and the radio?
Well, I couldn't think of one before, but actually, when I was filling in on Channel 3, I had to use the ladies room really bad, okay? And Scott was teasing me, so I was on the air, and then he made me laugh, and so I was, then the camera went to me, and I was standing like this, and I was like, oh no, and so then Scott said, oh, what's wrong, Renee? And I was like, oh no! And so that was embarrassing that the whole world knew I had to use that. Let's see what else. That was a good one. Then, oh my gosh, there's all kinds of funny, silly little stories like that. But that should show you that you never have to be afraid of being embarrassed or making a mistake. If you can be on TV going, I think I'm gonna pee my pants. I think everything else is okay. I think you can get through it. But that definitely up there. I couldn't think of that one before. And see, those are the kind of embarrassing stories you'll get if I keep remembering. Horrible, embarrassing stories. Anything else?
Well, I don't know if they're gonna call the weight bus quite now, guys, but why don't we give Renee and Jen a hand because
Thank you guys.
you guys, you got moms and dads picking you up, right? A couple of you, okay, so.